It is fantasy football season, and trying to decide how to approach your draft, it can be a massive headache. In this series, I'm going draft slot by draft slot, talking over what you can expect to see from your draft position, what strategies you can use, which players you might want to take, and which players you might want to avoid. We'll touch on the sleepers available later on, and we'll even run through a super quick mock draft so you can see exactly how I would draft from each position. In this video, we're drafting from the 101. These are the players that you can expect to see when you're drafting at the 101. Christian McCaffrey, still the 101 consensus despite the calf injury. The case for CMC's upside, it's so straightforward with him averaging 24 PPR points last year. That's a year after finishing as the RB2 with 21 points per game. Ever since CMC was traded to the Niners, he's averaged 4.5 receptions per game and 16.5 rush attempts per game. But it's hard to ignore that CMC has stayed remarkably healthy since that trade, until now where he's missing a couple of weeks with a calf strain. That's the type of lower body injury that's plagued CMC at times throughout his career, and you have to decide whether you're willing to take a player dealing with an injury already, or whether you're just willing to bet on a player who is a known difference maker. CeeDee Lamb. The Cowboys, they were so poor to start the 2023 season, but then everything changed at the bye week in week 7. Lamb had been the PPR wide receiver 24 before that point, scoring 14.9 points per game. And then after the bye week, he completely dominated across the back half of the season. Lamb averaged 28 points per game the rest of the way, 6.9 more than the next closest wide receiver. Lamb, he was a certified league winner. And the Cowboys, they've done nothing to reinforce this wide receiver room this offseason. Lamb can absolutely dominate target share again. These are the players that I'd be avoiding from this draft pick. Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill dominated with 9 top 5 weekly finishes in PPR leagues, but ended the season with 3 really bad finishes that absolutely crushed you as a fantasy manager, finishing as the wide receiver 36, wide receiver 16, and then the wide receiver 28. We've seen enough from Tua to know that he's not the most reliable quarterback. He seems to shy away from things in cold weather or in big games against decent teams. Tyreek Hill is absolutely a fine pick a couple of picks later, but there's no need to take him this early. A big part of Tyreek Hill's domination last year came because Jalen Waddle wasn't healthy, dealt with bumps and niggles throughout the entire season. But Waddle, healthy now, just signed a new contract, seems to be a big part of the team's plan for this year, and it could really eat into what Tyreek Hill can produce. Ja'Marr Chase. I'm not quite high enough on Ja'Marr Chase to take him this early. Wide receiver 1 overall is definitely in his range of outcomes, but it's kind of reliant on Joe Burrow staying healthy, something that he's not been able to do. It's also relying on T. Higgins not having a sizable bounce back. We're never going to see T. Higgins turn into a true wide receiver 1, I don't think. But we know he can be a really good player at the same time. And if he can have a contract year where he really earns getting paid next year, it might just eat into Ja'Marr Chase's workload. We're going to use Fantasy Pros Draft Wizard to mock draft. It is insanely customizable. You can sync it to your leagues and automatically copy the settings in. Then it'll adjust the rankings for that. You can choose which expert rankings and insights you'd like to see, including mine, which are part of the expert consensus rankings of over 100 people from across the fantasy football industry. There's no waiting around for other people. Nobody taking 6 kickers in the mock draft. Instead, we can mock draft against the Wizard, get feedback from top experts on our drafts. Check out the link in the description below to start your own mock drafts right now. If you are finding our videos for the first time, do me a solid and hit that subscribe button down below. We are ever so close to 3,000 subscribers. Here we do Dynasty, we do Best Ball, we do Redraft, we do DFS. We get you cooking all year long. For this draft, we select the 2024 season. We'll go with half PPR for this one. We're going with Snake, of course. 12 teams. We'll be picking out of a 101. Roster positions, 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, and then defense kicker and 6 bench spots. Picking over 101. Let's roll with Christian McCaffrey, see how this build turns out. When it comes back around to us, we've got Travis Etienne as a suggestion here, but I like the wide receivers in this range. Chris Olave is a complete stud, and we'll take him. Then to start the 3rd round, I'm not taking Devontae Adams. I think he's an okay value in this range, but let's lock in Josh Allen, the QB1, see how things go. As you can see, as the draft flies through, Christian McCaffrey went 101, then Breece Hall, Bijan Robinson both going early in this draft. We'll take Devonta Smith just ahead of Michael Pittman for me in my rankings. And then let's take Mark Andrews so that through 5 rounds, we've got an elite running back. We've got 2 really good wide receivers, 1 quarterback, and then the elite tight end. And now we can just start complementing that. I don't mind having 2 Ravens players on the same team, but instead, let's go Christian Kirk, who I think can be a real volume hog this year. We're going to need a running back here. Running backs are going off the board quickly, so let's take Brian Robinson, a player I'm really high on this year. When things come back around, you can see there was a decent run on running backs there. We lost Chase Brown, Jonathan Brooks, Javonte Williams, Devin Singletary, Tajay Spears, Gus Edwards, Nick Chubb, and Zeke Elliott. 8-12. Kyle Pitts goes off the board. We'll add some rookie upside to our team with Xavier Worthy, who the Chiefs seem to love. At running back, it would be Jerome Ford here, and that works nicely for us. Give us some good early season production. We've got 5 more rounds to go here. At the 10 spot, we've got 3 running backs. We've got 4 wide receivers. We've got 1 tight end and 1 quarterback. Nothing that's a glaring need, so instead we can just kind of take a look at what's the best player on the board right now. This pick, it's Rashid Shaheed. Let's shoot for the moon, go with some real upside, really fun player, someone I want on my teams this year. Then when things come back around, it's Tyler Algier. Imagine something happens to Bijan Robinson, and now you've got Christian McCaffrey and Tyler Algier on your roster. The Jets defense went off the board. We also saw the Ravens defense go off the board. We are getting to the range in drafts where you're going to start seeing that. I would rather push that, particularly in this draft where you're on the turn and it feels like something will come back. I'm not taking a second quarterback here. Let's take Romeo Doubs here, who's had really good training camp. Seems to be Jordan Love's best friend. You can see that the draft wizard says nice pick for that one. We were getting a good value there. Then rounding things out, we've only got a couple more picks here. We can take the Niners defense at the 13-01. See what happens. I imagine we're going to see more defenses and even some kickers come off the board. 2 kickers, 6 different defenses. We don't need to worry about that. We'll push kicker for now. At the quarterback position, nothing really stands out. None of the fun dual threat upside kind of players are there. We'll take a second tight end in Hunter Henry, who's had a really good offseason, and then round things out with Harrison Butker, the Chiefs kicker, the most well-paid kicker in the NFL. The draft wizard is giving us an A+, 97 out of 100, consensus of 107 experts you can see there. Toggle through and it'll show us the projected standings. All these draft insights available. You drafted 5 players ranked in the top 3 at the position: Christian McCaffrey, Josh Allen, Mark Andrews, San Francisco 49ers, DST, and Harrison Butker. That was the name of this draft. Just scooping up some real studs, not worrying too much about other stuff and worrying about what does this pick say. Just pick the best players. The draft wizard also giving us a good heads up here that bye weeks might be a problem, because in week 12 we have Chris Olave, Josh Allen, Christian Kirk, Rashid Shaheed, and Tyler Algier all on a bye week. That's 12 weeks away. We'll worry about that when we need to. What would you have done differently from 101? Let me know in the comments below. We answer every single question that you leave behind here on YouTube. For more redraft content, check out this video with Underdog's Josh Norris, where we talked undervalued and overvalued wide receivers.